Hello everybody and welcome to this Patreon exclusive video for Buy Now Pay Later plays. One clear winner, and this video is based on an update of my spreadsheet where I added Sezzle to the BNPL players out there. And so I may release this video on the main channel in a few weeks if you see it. It was recorded on March 4th, 2025. So let's go and talk about BNPL, Buy Now Pay Later, a revolution that may have been forgotten based on the broad dismissal of innovation in 2022, and all the market participants saying, oh, this is unhealthy, this is really bad, why would you use that? Why wouldn't you just use a credit card? And you get the crux of the issue here. You get, the media, who pays for advertising on the media. Credit cards are huge advertisers on the media, and so of course they would, just pounce on the opportunity to criticize Buy Now, Pay Later. The truth about Buy Now, Pay Later. Why Buy Now, Pay Later? Why would we invest in that? Well, because we invest in the future, and growth in the future is going to happen with young people, and young people hate credit cards with a passion. It's actually, a huge passion of young people to dislike credit card. They grew up in a world where they've been taught that credit cards are evil. You have many young people who will never touch credit cards, and Buy Now, Pay Later, of course, is a disruptor of credit cards. But that's not just it. It's also loved by Gen Z who don't want to get credit cards. It's also loved by retailers, especially clothing retailers, and these types of apps tend to be very popular among women who shop for much more clothing than men. It's loved by retailers. Why? Because psychology says that 4 easy payments of $29 is a much more palatable price than, say, $116 for a dress or $150 for a pair of shoes. You want to get to those 2 digits or even to those single digits, right? If you price an item less than $39, you can get 4 easy interest-free payments of single digit. This is very easy for Gen Z, Gen Alpha to love. What's another thing that is easy to love is the 0 to 1 features of Buy Now Pay Later. One of the biggest features, at least in the Pay in 4 format, is no interest. Most providers of this in the Pay in 4, i.e. you pay bi-weekly 4 payments, or sometimes they do it weekly, sometimes they do it longer, but you have either no interest or very, very small interest compared to what credit cards charge, right? Wells Fargo's of the world charge a fortune, 32, 35, 37% annual interest. With Buy Now Pay Later, you may get away often with something between 9 and 13%, very often. And the interest that you pay in these, if you want to have a longer duration, like a 12-month duration, it depends on your purchase. Some purchases will be more sponsored by the retailer than others. This is why this is getting popular, for example, for buying plane tickets, etc. Companies often prefer to sponsor the interest rates on their offer, on their product. They prefer to sponsor the interest rates to get you to pick them rather than pay for advertising. Take the case of an airline. For example, Cathay Pacific does a lot of Buy Now Pay Later. In the old world, what may get you to decide between an airline, well, it's all about the price, who is the cheapest, but you might buy your ticket with, say, Cathay Pacific because they sponsor your interest rate, and then you can buy that ticket interest-free or close to interest-free, and so they don't have to pay for very expensive advertising campaign all over to try to convince people that they're the best airline. Sometimes people try to recruit customers in different ways, and sponsoring the low interest, offering interest-free payment options to your customers is a huge deal to many people. And also another innovation of Buy Now Pay Later is no credit reporting. And this fits very well with the rest of this sector, where the dislike of credit cards among young people is also highly correlated with the dislike of credit reporting. And therefore, most of these Buy Now Pay Later do not report to credits bureaus. And if they do, it's optional. And then you have special perks, special memberships, apps. It's the modern way to do it, no doubt, and I think they are on their way to disrupting their credit cards, or at least putting a huge dent in credit cards. So let's get started. Let's talk about the player that initiated this video, which is Sezzle. Sezzle on my metrics, looks the best out of all of the buy now, pay later stocks. And, this is a stock that I didn't know about because it's big in Germany, but it's almost non-existent in the US. So you still don't have that kind of US stock premium that you would get on Sezzle. That's the only way, that's the only explanation I can find as to why they are so inexpensive on my metrics, because this is 0.27 in a very hot sector with very high valuations, and the rule of 40 on Sezzle is a 92. The stock is down 43% from its November 22nd, 2024 high, but if you look at the year, it's up 400%. So the stock has been a 5x. It's been an absolutely outstanding investment for people who bought this stock a year ago. And when I look at the stock, when I look at the data, and of course this is holistic, this is comprehensive of their market share, but especially the size of the market, you can see this is how people pay. You can see credit card is 40% of commerce transaction value. In other words, credit cards is 4 times bigger than cash. You can see when you follow this, they're all competing with cash. Now, when you look at this digital wallet, you may see it very high. It's because in some countries, digital wallets are huge. In the US, it's getting this way. How many more businesses do you start to see in the US saying, pay with Cash App, paying Cash App, get a special discount if you pay in Cash App? This is growing very fast, these digital wallets. Debit cards, the big chunk of that is in Europe. Debit cards are very popular in Europe. They're also popular among Gen Z, younger people, and of course, buy now and pay later cards have similarity to debit cards in the sense that your checking account gets debited all the time. Anyways, it seems to be like all of these were acting against cash, and now all of these are acting against credit card companies. And if you look at the size of Sezzle, it's only 5% in the US, but it's pretty big in Germany, and it's big in other places in Europe, for example. But it's going very fast and it's doing pretty well in Canada, for example, and in the US. Anyways, this company is not too US centric just yet, but it could become US centric. Moving on to what is this? Moving on to their integration. Of course, they are working on the Visa network, and you pay for the Visa network. You pay on top of the Visa network, and most of them have partnered with Visa or MasterCard, aside from Affirm, which has built its own payment network on the side. And so Affirm, of course, suffers from the highest valuation of them all, because on the back end, Affirm works very differently with Max Levchin having done a lot of upfront building in the way they securitize the loans and the way the payment rails are set up. But for Sezzle, they go through Visa. And I want to talk about also the people that they have, how many people they have. Let me bring this to front. You can see 78% are under 47 years old, and I would argue it's mostly younger people who are into that. And they utilize buy now, pay later for their own cash flow management. 1 out of 3 customers reported increased credit score because Sezzle has an option to report to the credit agencies if you want to. If you look at the rating of those apps, this is perhaps the most striking. You can see on the App Store and Google Play 4.9 and 4.7. People love these apps. I would challenge anybody to find a credit card rated at 4.9. Typically, you look at ratings, go on Credit Card Mar, see the comparison of credit cards. It's really rare to see a credit card even break a 3 out of 5. This is 4.9 out of 5. That's how well rated these companies are. Okay, moving on to the other play is Affirm. Affirm is the pure play. They're the innovator. They're, in my view, the first one in this sector, along with Klarna. I can't really tell which one was first, but Affirm to me is definitely the biggest pioneer in the field. In the US, at least, is the most famous buy now, pay later company in the US. It's also perhaps the reason why it's the most expensive on my spreadsheet right here. They have launched Affirm Plus, the Affirm card. They try to be a holistic, all-encompassing fintech. Of course, the big deal is the merchant-funded 0% offers. This is what I was referring to earlier, is merchants instead of spending a bunch of money on marketing, or instead of trying to compete intensely on price, they'll compete on things like, hey, we give you 0% financing. You have a choice between two clothing stores. They're about the same price. Merchants stop competing on price and saying, well, I offer 0% financing for 12 months. Something that has been well understood for more expensive items, like the car business, the auto business has been doing this for a long time. But now people are doing this for inexpensive stuff, for cheap stuff. And if you look at some of the very popular stores among Gen Z, like Temu, like Shine, these accept buy now, pay later. TikTok Shop as well, they accept buy now, pay later. So you can buy whatever dress, piece of clothing, piece of fashion, whatever you want. You can buy it on buy now, pay later, just like you would a credit card, except people prefer it because the interest rates are lower, and you can buy travel. You can see booking.com, Cathay Pacific, kayak.com. This is all quite interesting. I find it weird that Metro T-Mobile would be included, but I guess you can put a phone on there. Anyways, these companies are moving straight into becoming very holistic player, competing directly against the Wells Fargos and the Chase of the world who issue credit cards. But they seem to have a pretty blue ocean among the young folks, among the young people who love this stuff. PayPal, let's talk about PayPal. So PayPal has a pay-in-4 form of payment, but frankly, I fail to see a lot of differentiation with everybody else. It seems like it seems like a Me Too product. It's like, hey, everybody's doing that, I'm doing it too. Me too. I have pay-in-4. I have a hard time seeing why somebody would choose PayPal versus Sezzle or Affirm. Maybe they would choose it just because they have their account set up and it's in the checkout category. But of course, Affirm is in the checkout category too, right? If you shop on Amazon, you have Affirm right in there. So anyways, PayPal, the problem with PayPal, frankly, for me, is not their buy now, pay now offer. I'm sure it's buy now, pay later offer. I'm sure it's fine. No, the problem is the growth. The growth rate is just too slow. It's growing forward revenue growth at 6%. You get diluted at 15%. The dollar is getting printed at 15%. So it doesn't even catch up with monetary inflation. It's just too small. I get that they have nice margin at 19%, but if you look at Block's EBITDA margin is 33%, right? Look at the EBITDA margin of Sezzle. It's 51%. Affirm is in growth mode. So Affirm is still very much early in its growth career, and the EBITDA margin is not very good at Affirm. Affirm is a more expensive stock out there. I would not be interested in Affirm at this price. But if you look at 19%, well, yes, Sezzle has 51%. And by the way, on my favorite metric, enterprise value growth over revenue growth, they're at a 0.27. Why? Because they're predicted to grow 41%. PayPal, unfortunately, is so big, it's only predicted to grow at 6%. And so the buy now, pay later offering of PayPal, in my view, would not move the needle. It's still mostly a transaction fee business. And so that's why I would stay away from PayPal at these levels. I know PayPal is extremely popular among value investors, but I have a value investing, personality, but it's always within growth. Growth has always to come first, and then I like it cheap. But I first want it to grow fast, and then I like it cheap. With PayPal, unfortunately, it's just cheap. It doesn't grow very fast. And I'll conclude my disappointment with another fintech, which is Block. Block is only growing at 10% per the analyst's average over the next 12 months. I think they will do higher. I think they will do 15%. But the problem is that the growth has been a little disappointing for Block. You can see the stock took a big dive over the past month, more than a month now, down 36% because their earnings disappointed. Okay, they're making money, they're harvesting, they're 33% adjusted EBITDA margin, right? Rule of 40 is achieved at a 43. So this is all good, and the growth, of course, is in my view going to be at least double that of PayPal's, given that Cash App is the popular digital app in the United States. Cash App is much not much more. It's more popular than Venmo. Venmo is now the older folks app. So anyways, but the growth on Block has slowed down, and so it's all about looking forward the next wave of growth for them. They want to become the bank for younger people, for lower income people, and it's funny, they define lower income as anybody making less than 150,000. And just going through their annual report, their goal is to be the main financial institution for those making less than 150. At least that's the Cash App goal. It's pretty impressive. They have the Square business that is doing very well, but I think at this point their growth is very much linked to the velocity of the economy, right? How many times money changes and how many times money oscillates at the stores. And so right now the economy seems to be in a little bit of a slowdown, if the numbers have to be believed. People are not exchanging money as often, and so the velocity of money is not money changing hands 6 or 7 times a year. It's money changing hands more like 3 or 4 times a year, and these businesses are very sensitive to how often the money changes hand, how dynamic is the economy, how many times people just make money out of their job and they spend it back, and they turn it around and they spend it back. And now Americans are saving a little more, and of course a lot of that money doesn't necessarily go to savings, but it goes to high debt, high interest rates on cars, high interest rates on housing. And so that's why you have a bit of a slowdown in the consumer economy. Inflation also has something to blame. So I have little doubt this is a stock whose revenue growth would go back way up once the economy starts booming again and once confidence gets back into the economy. But for PayPal and Block, both of these companies are now so big, they're so large, that really the room for growth is not there. Compare this to a Sezzle, who has an enterprise value of 1.5 billion. The room for growth is huge for that. Even Affirm, which is a pure play buy now, pay later, the growth in my view is very much huge. It could become much bigger. Affirm is going international, right? If you're trying to go to Europe right now, that's why I've predicted to go at 35 and 41% respectively. Cash App, Block is much better than PayPal, but still a little low for me, which is why I'm staying away. I also will say, I know Afterpay is very popular in Australia. I know it's very popular in some parts of the world, but I have this intuition that they're not really pushing it as hard as other players, just because Block is such an all-encompassing business. It seems to be like this is more of a side business for them, for them, just like PayPal. Now the problem is for Block is that they paid a fortune for Afterpay. PayPal built its own. Block paid a fortune for Afterpay. In my view, we'll see. We'll have to see how big buy now pay later gets. But at least for now, it seems like this acquisition, it seems like they overpaid for it. At least for now. Maybe 5 years later, buy now pay later will be one of the main forms of payment. Credit cards will be on the decline, and maybe it will look like a very smart idea, but the jury is still out. So anyways, to conclude this video, in conclusion, are we moving to a world where credit card issuers are disrupted? I'm not talking about the payment rails, right? I'm not talking about Visa or MasterCard. No, I'm talking about those people who make money from these lines of credit. And so some of the bigger issuers, I could have put Citibank in there. Citibank is very big too. Capital One is big too, right? I could have put that. But some of the more famous issuers include Chase. Chase has a huge credit card business. Wells Fargo has a huge credit card business. Discover has a huge credit card business. And American Express, of course, is famous for being both the payment rail and the lending business. And so could these be replaced by Affirm, Sezzle, Afterpay, and Klarna, which is private? Could we see this future, right, beyond 2030? I don't have a problem seeing this future beyond 2030, actually, just because when I look at the sentiment of people on credit cards, the sentiment is just very, very, very poor and very, very low. And this might be a generational gap, because I don't have a problem with credit cards. I think they're a great tool. You can get a lot of free perks, a lot of free benefits, but it's about knowing how to use them. Someone who is in their early 20s, has some stigma with credit cards, and typically they love these much better if it's only for the fact that if a financing decision is on a purchase by purchase basis, the interest rates are zero or close to zero, and you get sponsorship from the store. So maybe it's my mistake. Maybe I should start using Affirm and Sezzle to try it out. I've never tried it out. Maybe I should try it out. So anyways, this was not financial advice, not investment advice. This is just entertainment. Please please subscribe, follow me on X, and you already follow me on Patreon if you see this video. So thank you for your support. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.